Happy demolding, YouTube hunters. Braggett Speed here. So it's late. I finally demolded my half-mass sculpt, and you can see it's surprisingly intact. I don't know if any of you know very much about mold making, but if you do, sometimes you can really damage the sculpt coming out. And of course, this is damage. I could never use it again for anything, but it really came out in one piece. Surprisingly well, which means that I have a clean mold. I've never had this before. Every time I do an Ultracal mold, I use monster clay, and every time I do one, it's I'm endlessly digging this thing out with wooden skewers and stuff like that. And the reason is that this time I actually followed the frickin' directions. If you read up on tutorials for making masks, you want to put a kind of a coat on the clay, and the product you use to do that is Krylon Crystal Clear, or that's what's often recommended. I've seen Alan Hops use spray paint before, which I've done also. But since I'm super impatient, I've always ignored the part where it says you should let the Krylon Crystal Clear dry for like 24 hours before doing your mold. I've always ignored that. I always rush everything, and I never let things dry, and I end up paying the price for it, but I don't ever learn my lesson. This time I kind of had to spray it on there and then leave and do something else, and I came back, and when I did my mold, you know, it still always takes a little bit of wrangling to get it off, because you are making a perfect vacuum with the negative onto the positive. But when I finally kind of got it going, it just came off in one clear piece, and I don't have to spend the next, 3 hours digging this out and cleaning it. I mean, it's like really, really clean. So I could cast this right now if I didn't do a cast of this right now if I didn't have to go to bed, which I do. But the lesson learned is follow the directions, kids. That protective coat, which is really hard to see on here, but it's you could feel it with your finger if you were here. There's like a thin layer of plastic on top of this sculpt, and that's what gives you the separation, so that you can get it off relatively effortlessly. So there you go. I'm going to pour a latex into this tomorrow and get my first pull out of this mold. Talk to y'all soon. Happy Halloween and whatever. Going to bed. Enough.